frustration when your life is out of balance. Welcome to Mummies Make Ripples with your host, Steph Esbach, a show focusing on emotional well-being for caring mummies. Being frustrated because your life is out of balance is a very common struggle for mummies. In this episode, we'll address a couple of those overwhelming emotions and dive right to the bottom of it all. We will take an imaginary trip to the moon and help you to get a better perspective on it all. And finally, we will discuss some strategies to help you to deal with those frustrations and an unbalanced life. Sounds good? Well, let's dive right into it. So, you're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, and your life is out of balance. Does this sound familiar? My life is a mess. There's just too much to do, and I just don't have the time or the energy for that. I don't even want to look into the mirror. Look at my hands, look at my nails, not to talk about my hair. I never get time for myself anymore. Oh yes, and don't forget the heap of things only you can do, screaming at you from every corner. Every day you find yourself in a tumble dryer, loaded with emotions of anger. Why is this so difficult? Why must he do it all alone? And those emotions of guilt. I love my kids, but what about me? Or, I know my husband needs me, but I just don't have the time or the energy. And what about those emotions of feeling so sorry for yourself? Well, personally, I know this one very well. When you so often attend every pity party you receive an invitation for, telling the same things to the same regular guests, I, myself, and me. The problem is your tumble dryer seems stuck and the cycle doesn't seem to stop. Like the washing on the inside, you feel dried out, wrinkled up, and ready to quit. Yep, you didn't sign up for this. Too much for one person, right? I get it. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But before we move on, let's get to the bottom of your feelings of frustration and overwhelm. In episode 1, I told you that for the 3 most important events in one's life, we hardly get any training. Do you remember? If you missed episode 1, please make sure to listen to it. Those events are marriage, raising kids, and death. I think one of the biggest causes for these feelings is that most of us started out with a very romantic picture of having a baby, being a mummy, sweet chuckles, love and peace. Not so? And then the bubble pops, and you realize that having a baby is anything but romantic. It's very stressful, and nothing ever goes as planned. At the root of frustration lies unfulfilled expectations. And one thing that adds more frustration is your disability to live out your dreams. You're still young, you've got potential, you've got goals, you've got dreams, and now you've got kids. And somewhere these things don't complement each other. Well, let me offer you a better perspective. It's now time for our imaginary trip to the moon. Hopefully things will look a little different from there. While we're traveling at light speed through all these millions of stars, I would like to share a couple of truths with you. I want to remind you of something very important. For now, you might find the days are very long, but remember, in reality, the years are extremely short. I know. The one moment you hold your precious little one in your arms, the next, they don't want to be kissed or held anymore. And before you know, they leave the nest. And all you've got left are the paint marks on the duvet. That was the day you shouted so loudly that your throat was sore for 3 days. And now you lovingly embrace a scratch on the coffee table and regret how you exploded that day when it happened. You stare at the photos on the wall, remembering some of the events that you did not enjoy, only tolerated. But before that dreadful day arrives, let's move on. Let me offer you a better perspective. Number 1, your life will never be the same again. Okay, you didn't want to hear that. The truth is, your life will never be the same again. Let go of the wish that things will be what you consider to be normal again. It will never, ever, ever be the same, ever again. It won't, ever. Your life will be out of balance for this time, maybe even for a couple of years. That's life. And it is okay. The thing that matters most right now is that you become the kind of mommy God created you to be. What matters now is for you to raise the kind of kids God had in mind when He entrusted them to you. Number 2, for everything under the sun there is a time and a season. Just look at the stars around us. Aren't they beautiful? And God knows each one by name. Same with you. He knows you by name. He has called you by name. He knows you so intimately that every hair on your head is numbered. He knows when each one of them falls to the ground. And it matters to Him because you matter to Him. Now is your time to shine like one of these bright stars for your little ones. Now is your time to be their guiding light. Remember, a star's potential is only visible when it is dark. Doesn't matter how dark everything feels around you right now. Your power to shine is built into your being. All you need to do is to be connected to the source of that light, Jesus Christ. But sometimes we'd rather be the sun and scorch everything with our flames. But take my advice. It is far more beneficial for you and for your whole family to spread the soft rays of moonlight into their lives. Talking about moonlight, I used to look after my grandson when he was still little. When bedtime comes, I would tell him to pick a very beautiful ray of moonlight and then swing with it right into dreamland. I would choose my own silver ray and meet him on the other side. Oh, let me tell you, those trips to dreamland on silver rays of moonlight were always very exciting. Your kids are someday going to look back at their lives and the time you spent or didn't spend with them. And they're going to remember. They'll embrace it or they will reject it. The power to build memories in their little hearts that they will treasure forevermore is right here, in your hands, in your mouth, in your heart, today. Number 3, I've never heard of anybody who regrets the fact that they didn't spend more time at work when facing death. Never. But often we hear people regret that they missed beautiful opportunities with their families. And then it is too late. I want you to know, and believe me when I say, all that matters is the kinds of ripples you are making in your kids' lives right now. You only have now. This moment, this very moment, is all that you've got. What are you going to do with this opportunity? And then the next one, and the next. Life is made up of choices. It's made up of opportunities. And you've got to choose what you are going to do with every little now moment that you've got. Choose wisely, because every choice is a letter written on their hearts and their memories. Number 4. On our trip here to the moon, the most important instrument was a compass, or a GPS if you like, not a clock. History tells us that for their first trip to the moon, those astronauts had to adjust their direction every 10 minutes, or else they would have missed the moon completely. In our journey through life, this is the thing we constantly need to do. Check the compass and adjust. But the compass has no significance if you don't know where you're heading. But we will talk about more of that later. Let me ask you, what is driving you? Your compass, showing you the right way, or your clock, reminding you how much time you are wasting while on this journey? Don't make the mistake of confusing the destination with the journey. Which do you believe is most important, the journey or the destination? It is the journey. But sometimes parents are driven by the clock, and we hear them saying things like, I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait for that to be over. Refer to teething stadium, breastfeeding, waking up at night, and so on. Or, I wish the school would start so that I could just breathe again. Or something like, I hate these teenage years. Can't they just grow up? And then they do. And you've missed all the wonderful opportunities, wishing every phase to come to an end. May I be blunt with you, Mommy? Wake up. Smell the roses. Enjoy the moment. Make the best of this opportunity. It includes changing diapers, making sandwiches, teaching them table manners over and over and over. The time will come when you will also wish you could turn back the clock and even make a podcast like this, warning other mummies not to make the same mistakes you did. But for now, please relax in the knowing that being a mummy who cares is the highest calling for every woman on this planet. As I said in the previous episode, this is not a blame and shame game. The purpose is not to put you on another guilt trip. The purpose is to get you off from that trip before it even starts. Things look a little different from here from the moon, don't they? Enjoy this moment and take a good look at the glory of the galaxy. Each star was lovingly created by God. He even gave them names. Your little ones are more valuable than all the stars in the universe because they belong to God in the first place. And He entrusted you to raise them and look well after His little diamonds. Now I want to offer you 4 strategies to deal with frustrations because your life is out of balance. But before I do that, just remember, gaining knowledge is not going to change anything. Listening to me, it's not going to help you at all. Only when you apply what you've heard, you can expect change and you can expect things to be different. So this is now the application part of this episode, and I want to say this is the most important part. Let's recap. I said, your life will never be the same again. So what is your strategy? Choose to face reality and accept it. Change starts with a choice. This is your life for now. Accept it. Number 2, for everything under the sun, there is a time and a season. Different kinds of seeds grow in different seasons. And even every season brings forth new growth opportunities. So what is your strategy? Embrace growth. You see, we look at life and we see problems. And whenever you see a problem, I don't know about you, but for me, it is not nice having problems. It makes me feel so tired just thinking, oh goodness, another problem. But when you can learn to turn that concept, it is a problem, into a challenge and say, okay, this is a challenge. How does it make you feel? You know, for a problem, there's never an answer or hardly ever an answer, and it's hard to deal with problems. But a challenge, it gives you hope. Okay, I can do something about this. So turn those problems into challenges, and immediately you will have some hope that you will be able to change it. But don't stop there. When you take those challenges and you rename them and you call them opportunities for growth, it's even better, because this is your season for growth. You must learn to grow out of these challenges and problems, out of these things. The best way is you can't escape. So grow out of it. Learn the things you need to learn in this season of your life. And make sure to leave a legacy that you will build into the lives of your children as well. Embrace growth. This season will teach you things you wouldn't learn otherwise. Embrace it. Just look at the trees. Every season brings forth new things. Leaves and blossoms. Then they turn into fruit. Then the time comes and the leaves change their color. And that is so beautiful. When you look at the trees, they are empty. It looks as if death has entered. But let me tell you something about winter. It is actually the most important part of that tree's life, because then it gets the opportunity to let its roots go deeper into the ground, to strengthen its roots so that it can be stronger when the next season comes. This is now your season. Make the best of this opportunity. Number 3, let's fast forward to your deathbed. What would you want your kids to remember and embrace about their childhood? What will your strategy be? This is going to take some time from you. And then you make 2 notes. The first one, if you had to die tomorrow, what regrets will you have right now? Write them down. And the second one, what would you like your children to say about you one day at your grave? But don't leave it there. Spend some time and think about this. Write down the changes you will have to make. Starting right now, when you finish listening to me, what is your next step going to be? You see, this is the magic of being a mommy. You are an atmosphere changer. You have the power to shape their future. Number 4, the most important instrument on our trip to the moon is a compass, not a clock. A compass shows direction. A clock shows time. When you live by a compass, you can bring the direction they need to reach their stars too. You can't do this when you live by a clock though. So what is your strategy? To become the direction giver, you can start by making 2 lists. Yes, we are making lists. And those lists are, what is important in my life and what is urgent in my life. You need to know the difference. Ask yourself this question. Is it urgent or important to whatever? And then you can fill it in. Is it urgent or important to check your WhatsApp, to scroll down Facebook, to exercise, to spend a date night with your husband, to take your kids on a fun trip? And you need to complete the list by yourself. We talked about the story of your life, you feeling overwhelmed and frustrated because everything is out of balance. Too much to do, too little time to do it all. You often find yourself in a tumble dryer loaded with emotions such as anger, guilt, feeling sorry for yourself. For now the days seem too long, but remember, in reality the years are very short. And before you know it, you sit alone in your house with only a couple of memories to keep you company. Then in the second place, I offered you a better perspective while on our imaginary trip to the moon. And I've talked about these 4 points. Number 1, your life will never be the same again. Number 2, for everything under the sun, there is a time and a season. Thirdly, nobody on their deathbed regrets not spending more time at work. But they do regret neglecting their families. Number 4, the most important instrument on your life journey is a compass, not a watch. Lastly, I suggested 4 strategies for dealing with frustration when your life is out of balance. Your life will never be the same again, so your strategy is to face reality and accept it. Number 2, for everything under the sun, there is a time and a season. Your strategy, embrace growth. Number 3, nobody on their deathbed regrets not spending more time at work. So your strategy is make a list of things you would like your kids to say when that day comes. And lastly, the most important instrument in your life is a compass, not a watch. And your strategy is understand the difference between urgent and important. Mommy, you are making ripples in your kids' lives every day. What ripples are you going to make today? Thank you for listening to Mummies Make Ripples. Will you please help me to spread the word? You can do that by hit that follow button, share this podcast on your social media platforms, and also leave your comments and questions below. I do look at them. So until next time, go and make ripples that night.